Hey guys, welcome back to the. I don't know what's going on with my microphone here.
Off to a good start.
to the previously unnamed podcast, but a few things have changed since the first episode. We've decided on a name, which is cool, I guess. So, what have we gone with, Danny?
We've gone with Iron Hearts.
Yes, the Iron Hearts podcast. It's a tricky business finding a name for a podcast because you got to find something that doesn't sound lame.
Yeah, it
hasn't been taken and hasn't been copyrighted by someone who isn't even using it. So
Correct.
those three conditions need to be met. So welcome back to the Iron Hearts podcast, guys. A lot has a few things have changed since
the
last episode. Smooth, very smooth. That's funny.
Engaged,
Yeah. The proposal actually happened.
It did.
Yeah.
And he did very good. I was actually surprised. You managed to surprise the unsurprisable, Danny.
Don't be so surprised that I surprised you. Come on, man.
I am. I'm usually so clued. I am
so
clued onto things normally, and I literally had. I had a feeling it was going to happen on the trip, but I had zero idea it was going to be happening in that moment.
I thought she knew the day it was happening because there were
no idea. It would have looked way better.
We'll have to tell the whole story at some point. It's kind of a long story, so we'll probably save that for another time. But I was convinced that you knew leading up to it, and you were just like, "It's going to happen, now. It's going to happen now."
Oh, I had no idea. I was too busy stressing that we weren't getting back in time to get ready for the dinner that was happening.
For the dinner that I had organized with all of our family, which she thought
it was going to happen at the dinner.
She thought the actual proposal was going to happen there, but yeah, the location was pretty cool for a pair of bodybuilders too, wasn't it?
At Hercules Ruins. It was,
Heraclea Lincestes, is that how it's pronounced? The ruins?
Sure. I can't. I don't know.
You know how I said in episode 1, I remember things? This is what we're talking about. So podcast.
No, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The scenery was stunning, and I just love that I was surprised. All I wanted was to be surprised, and you nailed it. So
well, everyone was surprised because our entourage had no idea, so they were scrambling to get photos and videos because I just decided to do it on a whim.
And thank God, so the whole, how he got me up there was he was like, oh, let's go get a photo at the top. And I'm like, we already got one, showing him. See, we already got one. He's like, no, I want it further on the edge. I'm like, fair enough, okay, because he never asks to take photos of videos or never does the photos of videos. So I was like, okay, he's making an effort. So then he sets his phone up against his drink bottle so low, and I'm like, that is the shittest angle. You're not going to get a good photo. So thank God I called Denzel up to take a photo for us, and then he switched it to video mode, because if we had not had someone using my phone, the whole proposal would have been captured just his butt and his heel.
Listen, not everything needs to be documented in 3D,
that
high
moment
HD
does.
quality. Yeah,
that moment does. I'm glad I got it because I can't remember what you said after that, so I needed to listen back to hear what you were saying.
Well, my recording caught what we were saying. At least we could probably enhance the audio. But anyway,
we digress.
Two things have been have changed. Obviously, the podcast name is officially been named, and Danny's probably gonna be changing her name soon.
And my name will be changing soon. Yeah.
So that's cool. Today's topics.
All right, so we actually, today we're going to talk about really, more so prep as a couple and just navigating being on competition prep, and not just in a couple stance, but also navigating friendships, family member. It is a quite taxing, I will say, experience on not just the athlete, but can be also for those people closest to you and those around you. So,
and by saying contest prep, we're not excluding people who are also maybe just getting into fitness as well, because the same issues that crop up with doing a bodybuilding prep, a bikini prep, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Those same issues can crop up just if you're making healthy changes in your life and maybe you don't have the support system or the lifestyle, I guess, conditions in place.
Right.
So this does apply to you even if you're not a bodybuilder, if you're trying to balance fitness with friendships and relationships and whatnot, because
and work as well.
And work, because it's challenging. It's a demanding thing to do. Especially if you've never made sacrifices for your health.
Yeah.
Creating those habits is a challenge at first for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well,
also, that, and also just setting up boundaries with people, and sticking to your why. I think. I don't think a lot of people recognize how much effort goes into having to prioritize your health. You know what I mean? So you have to make it a priority if it's something that's important to you. And if it's not, then okay, cool. But I mean, I know, I think people that, I want to, start this fitness journey and, get fit and do all these things and think it's just a matter of going to the gym and, eating healthy. But there's like so much more that goes into it. Like,
Yeah, and the clue is in the name. Danny pretty much hit the nail on the head when she said prioritize. You have to prioritize it. Otherwise, what's the saying? Sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes the sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's a really... but it's true, isn't it? It's simple, but it's true. You have to sacrifice for things that you truly want. It doesn't mean you have to, suffer needlessly or just throw all of the, you don't have to crank everything up to the hardest difficulty, day one. I mean, just to, I guess, transition to the first topic, how to set yourself up for success. I think you and I would both agree the most intelligent way to go about this is to start slow and layer things in bit by bit. You don't immediately go to an hour and a half or two hours of cardio a day. You don't pull your calorie. If you've been eating, upwards of 3,000 calories a day, you don't pull yourself down to 1,000 calories. You don't suddenly, start taking what you know what I mean? Like all of these, different routes to the goal. You've got to layer things in slowly.
Yeah.
To make it sustainable.
In order to do that, I think, so I guess in terms of setting yourself up for success, it's the first one is setting up, having enough time, allocating enough time. If you are thinking about doing a competition prep, I mean, I've had people come up to me like, oh, I want to do a competition. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you have to actually spend you can't, exactly. In 3 months, I want to do a competition. Now, unless you are somebody who has been bodybuilding 4 years and have actually built the muscle required to go into a cut for a competition, it's just not going to happen. We are going to turn you away, right? Like, we are not going to just take your money to put you in a competition prep unless you have some sort of foundation of muscle that you have built over time. So,
or we're going to have a realistic conversation and say, you can do this, but it's going to suck. I mean, I've taken folks on, and the prerequisite when someone comes to me and says, I can only budget for 12 weeks, I want to do this show by this date, my response is, okay, well, you're pretty much handicapping 75% of my ability to help you by doing that, because timeline and setting up an appropriate timeline and managing that timeline is the biggest tool in your toolkit in order to have a successful prep. It really is. Yeah.
And also do well, right? So that's the other thing. Like,
don't expect to win.
You're not going to place well if you are just going straight. You're hiring a coach just to do a competition prep. So, obviously, just to circle back. So having enough time goes into like doing a proper off season where you're spending time bodybuilding for the division you are competing in. Let me also make that clear. You can't just expect to go from, bikini into like, oh, I want to do wellness next year, which I see. I mean, we've been to so many competitions where
just absolute delulu,
I'm
man.
like watching wellness. I'm like, that's bikini. Or you're watching bikini. Like, you are wellness. Like, train for the division that you are competing in. And
that structurally matches you as well.
Right.
Like some folks, they are built for wellness. I mean, and some folks are, I shouldn't say folks, some women I should say, are built for bikini. Don't try and gaslight yourself into thinking that you're wellness when you're bikini, because you'll get completely shown up.
So know your criteria and allow enough time to, build the muscle necessary before you go into an actual competition prep cut, right? So time is the first one. I think the second one, which people don't often think about, is finances. Competing is expensive. Having enough finances, right? So if you won't, I mean, for the women especially, I don't know, for guys, it's a little bit cheaper because you don't have to do hair and makeup. But for women, I mean, besides obviously your coaching fees, right, which, that's a no-brainer. But in terms of the actual show, you have to buy a bikini. That's like $700. Can be. The cheapest I've seen is $300. You've got tanning, you've got makeup, you've got hair, you've got shoes, you've got all these things. Like, it is an expensive sport to do, especially if you want to do more than one show, because then you have show registration. Then if you want to do more than one division, you're paying for that. So make sure you have the money to do it.
And this isn't even counting the baseline expenses that everyone has, which is
Groceries.
Gym membership, groceries, your ability to get to and from. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not something that you should undertake if you're not in a financially secure position. It's not a smart thing to do because it's the key. One of the key things to having an effective prep is managing your stress factors. And if you're constantly worried about money on prep, you're not going to have a good time. You're really not. It's going to be just a miserable experience for you on multiple levels, isn't it? If you're constantly like, oh damn, I can't pay for this, or I can't finance this aspect of it, so I'm not going to be able to show up on the day, with showcasing my best. It's prepare to spend a decent chunk of change on these things before you actually choose a show date, I think. Yep.
And then I think the other one and just going back to when we have conversations with clients, is competing for the right reasons. God, I've heard some, and I'm sure you have as well, in terms of why people want to compete. Make sure that you're doing it for you, right? And that this is, not to prove something, or if you're, the biggest one is that is a no-no, is like if you already have some sort of body dysmorphia, or you have some sort of, I don't know.
If you have any disordered eating, history of bulimia, anorexia, anything that pertains to food insecurity, that needs to be like so far in your past that it's not even in the back of your mind when you enter a contest prep, because these types of things will rear their head worse than they ever have in your life during a contest prep, because you're essentially pursuing an aesthetic goal that is tied to how lean you can get. It's not the right environment to put yourself in if you have had one of these or multiple of these conditions in the past or in the recent past. I mean, there are cases of individuals who they overcome it and they can compete, but it's very, very rare in my experience,
Yeah, or this is the one. Bodybuilding is a thing that gets them out of it, because I have seen stories like that, girls that were previously anorexic and now they're kind of like bodybuilding is their life, right? And it saved them from that, right?
Yeah, it gave them control over those feelings.
Exactly.
And whatnot. So, but you have to really do the work to get to that place. I think you can't just transition from having that and then being like, okay, I'm going to bodybuild to fill that void, because it doesn't work out that way typically.
Yeah, and I think having a strong why and doing it for yourself and doing it just to see if you can. I mean, it's only going to make the prep easier as well when it gets hard, right? Because you can always go back to those reasons, and that's going to keep you disciplined and keep you going. Because if you don't have a strong enough why, then prep is just not going to work. It's going to be miserable, and you're going to fall off the wagon many times. So,
excuse me, anyone who's watching me. This Alani is
probably not a good idea to have a gas drink when we're well, it wouldn't be for me, because when a burp comes, I can't stop it.
I haven't had breakfast. I'm cutting. I needed the caffeine to suppress my appetite. So what can I say?
All right, and then I guess let's hone in on the main topic of the day is having a support system in place. And having a support system around you that's on board and supportive of your fitness goals. Now, like you said, this goes whether you're doing a prep for a competition, because that takes a lot, and that will test a lot of your relationships, or whether it's even just, some of our, lifestyle clients, whether it's something that they're just embarking on for the first time, where they want to just, get started. But I think it's two different things, right? But they do share some commonalities. With challenges that come up, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It really just comes down, if you have a support system who, I guess, is an actual support system that wants to see you succeed, it's typically not an issue.
Right.
But if it's someone who, and I think we kind of touched on this a little bit during the first podcast, didn't we? I can't
we said recall. We're going to dive into it more, and here we are.
Dive into it more. So yeah, the problem is that a lot of people can't wrap their head around the fact that you're leveling up, or that you're changing or evolving from the person that they know you as into someone new. Doesn't mean that you're changing or becoming superficial just because you're prioritizing your health. It simply means that you're prioritizing it like you haven't before. And some people can struggle with that, whether it's a spouse, family members, maybe friends who don't understand why you're doing it. It's really, really important, or at least it's challenging if people at least don't have the ability to understand that and relate to it, because you're not only struggling with your own challenges, because you are going to run into challenges anytime you embark on a fitness journey. You're going to involve, you're going to run into, weeks that are a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
It's really gonna shine a light on some of the things that maybe you haven't figured out yet, isn't it? Like in terms of like habit forming and things like that. But if you don't have a support system that's willing to work with you, or you have people who, hate to say it, but almost want to sabotage you through the process, like that's really, really tough.
And that's not to say they're doing it intentionally either. I just, being in prep for a competition is a lot easier, obviously, like for us, right? Because, well, A, he's my coach, and B, he's a bodybuilder, so it helps. So if you are in a relationship with another bodybuilder, usually, and not all the time, for the most part, it's going to be easier, especially if you guys have managed to sync up your competition prep and your off season. It is harder when one's in off season and one's in competition prep, which always happens to us. But it makes it a lot easier because they're understanding and they know what's required, and they're in the world, right? But a lot of the time, we as competitive or athletes don't have a partner who is a bodybuilder or doesn't understand it or doesn't get it, and it can test the relationship. And that also goes for friendships too. I mean, I know when I'm in competition prep, like I don't get to see my friends because I'm not going out. I'm not going to brunches and lunches and dinners and things like that. So, you don't get to see your friends as much. And it can be, and if you're not in a relationship, that can be isolating, right? Because you're not seeing as many people. You kind of just get up, cardio, work, train, sleep, right? And on repeat, and that's all you're doing. But I think it's a much harder when you don't have a partner that is in the world. And I think we spoke about this before, it's like having the conversation with them up front to make sure that they support you in doing this. Because if they don't, it's just going to increase your stress during your prep. It's going to make things so much harder. And it's not going to be enjoyable, right? Because you're going to be constantly trying to, having disagreements with your partner as you're trying to like track your food, do your cardio, do train, and you have lack of sleep. I mean,
and I think the dynamic that you have with your partner can ultimately determine whether you're suited to doing a prep, while in a relationship with that individual, because some of our clients, their spouses, we have male clients who have like female non-bodybuilder partners and vice versa.
Yeah.
And for the most part, their partners are like, hell yeah, go after it. They're super supportive. They want to see them succeed. But when they just can't wrap their head around that and they launch into a prep anyway, it becomes a struggle, because at least for us as coaches, like we're trying to walk the line of being professional, but it's like also, your support system has to be on board. Otherwise we just got to can this, you know what I mean? Because you're struggling not only against, like I said previously, your own stuff, but also you're running up against maybe not intentional, but sabotage from other places as well. And it's really, really tough to overcome that. And then guilt kind of sits in, and then that can then lead to bitterness because you're kind of resenting your partner for not being, you know what I mean? Like it's not worth, certainly not breaking up a relationship or a marriage over a contest prep. That's for damn sure, because there's always going to be another show. Bodybuilding is a very, I'll say it, everyone knows this, is a very selfish sport.
Yeah.
So,
I was just about to say that.
So you got to be, you got to be clear on that. And, I think if you're just speaking to someone, if you're listening to this and you're a bodybuilder and you have a partner or a spouse who isn't a bodybuilder, the best approach, at least I've found with my clients, if they really can't get it, is that it's just a period of time. It's not forever. So if they can commit to being on board for the 4 or 5 months that the prep is, then, you can get through that, and maybe, it's not so bad. Maybe it's awful and it's like, okay, no, we can't do this. You know what I mean? Again. But,
yeah. But I mean, that's a good point. I was just about to bring that up in terms of like how to navigate it, right? Let's say you are in a competition prep. Maybe you're in a prep now and you are having, issues with your friends or spouse or partner, boyfriend, whatever. I mean, the main thing comes around like communicating.
Yeah, communication. Literally,
I know it sounds cliche, but I am just surprised about how many people don't communicate effectively. And it's a simple thing like, you mentioned like bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. So, asking your partner, like, what do you need? What do you need from me? Like, because I think when we in this competition prep, we're like, well, I need to do this and I need to eat my food. I need to do my cardio. I need to do all these things. Like, okay, but stop and ask your partner what maybe they need, right? And it's a two-way street, right? So I think just communicating effectively can solve so many problems.
Yeah, not to bring it down too much, but I think that there are some folks who are together and they've just never really communicated very well in the first place. So prep just shines even more of a light on that poor communication, and that's when things tend to break down. But I don't know if this is me, but I feel like if your relationship is, if your communication is at the point where you can't get through like a bodybuilding prep like at least once, then there's maybe deeper stuff that maybe you need to, and it also... We don't really prep our athletes, all or nothing extreme, like sacrifice your whole life for the prep. So when we see a very measured approach that we're taking with our clients and things are still breaking down, that's where we're like, okay, because there's some coaches out there who are just like, nope, it's all or nothing for the 6 months. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that even matters except for your placing. That's not how we approach it. We like to take a measured approach that's balanced because we think that brings about the best physique and the best experience for the client. But yeah, not everyone thinks that way. So it's by no means like easier doing a prep with us, but it's definitely a more balanced approach. And if taking a more balanced approach, you can't get through that prep together, there's probably other things below the surface that probably need to be communicated before you even have a conversation about prep or anything else.
I was going to say, well, in that case, a lot of the times, I think you said this, it shines a light on underlying issues that haven't been dealt with, right? So it's not the competition prep that's the issue.
It just brought.
Don't blame the bodybuilding because
it just brought that issue into the forefront, and And
then I guess I know we've been talking about like challenges as a couple, but it also goes to friendships and stuff. So if you're in a competition prep and feeling a little bit isolated and lonely because you're missing out on because you can't go to the lunches and the dinners and things, plan other activities that don't revolve around food. I mean, there are so many other things that you can do.
We always go bowling. We always go bowling when
bowling.
It's
you
a prep
can do
period.
an escape room. You can go.
We still need to do an escape room.
I know. I cannot wait to do that. I'm going to plan that soon. I think we'd be good at it.
You think we would be good at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm competitive and you're really smart, so I think both of those things.
She thinks I'm really smart. I'm
you
really
are
smart.
Really smart.
I'm really smart at certain very niche topics.
Yeah, well. Find other things that you can do with your friends to still maintain those relationships, and even just calling and checking in. I mean, that also, sending a voice note. I mean, those things... you still have to maintain your friendships and relationships during a competition prep. So it can be a selfish sport, and sometimes we get we're exhausted and we're tired, but you have to make the effort still. So, well, I do anyway. So, I mean, we've been doing so many preps together at this point. God, I've lost count of how many.
It's been at least 10. Since
we met 3.5 years ago, I don't
so.
think we have ever had a blow up at all during any of those preps in terms of like that's
You're bragging again.
I'm sorry. Ours were just so amazing. Okay, moving on.
But we're also quite mellow folks, and we're both bodybuilders. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's easier for us because this is a lifestyle, and I guess this is a really great takeaway. It's like if you choose to do this, you're blessed to be able to do it, right? If you I hate using the word privilege, but if you're privileged enough to be able to choose to do bodybuilding in this day and age, an expensive sport that requires you to, diet for aesthetic purposes. I mean, you're lucky if you're living a life that allows you to do something that is, I guess, you're just lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can articulate it, like be grateful that you're in a position where you can actually do that, I guess.
Yeah.
And do it to have fun and enjoy the process, because if there's going to be periods of prep that are a struggle, but if the entire 4 or 5 months of the prep and even on stage, show day is a panic and you're not confident on stage, what is the point? You know what I mean? Like, we have an absolute blast with our clients.
Oh, I have the best time backstage. I'm usually dancing around like...
Yeah, but so do our clients, regardless of placing. I mean, and many of them place really well, but our focus is always... get up and, enjoy what you've worked to showcase.
Yeah.
Don't go in, feeling like this is a punishment. It shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah. And then I guess, bringing it to actually competing and getting on the stage. I mean, just getting there is a win in itself. So, obviously everyone wants to place well. Everyone wants to win. I get that. I mean, I'm competitive myself, but like, if you've gone up there and you know that you have executed the prep exactly as well as you could have, you put your all into it, then show day should just be about fun. You have no control over what happens on the day. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know what the judges on that day are looking for, especially in bikini. It's quite subjective.
I would argue that you can show up sometimes, especially at local regional shows in bikini, and you can be the best bikini athlete on stage and not place the way you would expect to because of outside factors.
Yeah.
I won't go too much into the political side of things, but sometimes you can stand out against the other athletes and look so much more, so much more impressive than the rest of the pack. Speaking about Danni in this instance, because like sometimes she'll show up and she'll be backstage. You know what I'm talking about? All the girls backstage are like, "You're a pro, you're here for the pro show," and you're like, "No, I'm an amateur," and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then you get up on stage and it's like, "Oh yeah, she's more muscular, she's more developed, and she's too conditioned." You know what I mean? But if you put her in on a pro stage, she might be looked at differently, and that's the thing is there's a definite like difference in the way that you're viewed when you're an amateur versus a pro. So and the way that the amateur shows are judged. So just because you get up there and maybe you didn't win your class or you didn't nationally that doesn't mean that you didn't do something incredible or
just getting
absolutely outdo yourself during this prep. So don't base how you did or how 6 complete strangers who don't know you, haven't seen your journey, judged you versus the work that you put in. That doesn't devalue what you did to get there in the slightest.
Yeah, just like I said, getting on stage is a win in itself because a lot of people try to do this bodybuilding competition stuff and they don't even make it to the stage because it's too hard and they quit, right? So, just have fun with it and, go up there feeling confident with yourself and knowing that you did the best that you can, and that's it. It just I always say you can be committed but not attached to the outcome, right? So that's kind of my little motto, and it just makes it way more enjoyable, to be honest. So
and from a coaching perspective, I think I go in, like I said, with our athletes, and I think you feel the same, where we're excited to see where the athletes are going to place. And if they win their class, it's really exciting because, oh, wow, maybe they're going to win the overall. And that's where the excitement really comes in. But until that's happened, we're like, okay, they look phenomenal on stage. We're really happy with how they place. But you can't control these things. You really can't. So focus on the things you can control, not the things you can't.
Yeah, and the beauty about this sport, I think, is there's always room to improve, right? I mean, we're bodybuilders are never satisfied. We keep striving for more, and that's a beautiful thing. I love that. I love that it's never over.
Yeah, it's an ever evolving journey, and I never feel I'm never dreading the next phase of my training, or the next training block, or it's not just about the physical aspect as well. It's about the mental strength and the development as a the psychological development as an athlete.
Yeah.
And also, just to bring it back around to some of our clients, it's really cool to see how their first show, they were just a bag of nerves. Yeah. And now, over the years, they're slowly starting to fall into this, like, pro athlete mindset where they're like, wow, I'm just going to bring my best and, I'll take the feedback and then I'll go to the next show. They're less emotionally attached and just proud of how far they've come.
Yep. 100% agree with that. So I guess one last thing in terms of, just preparing, competition prep and all those sort of things is doing and I know, I would think most coaches do this. I'm assuming, maybe not, who knows, but getting ready ahead of time, so we talked about earlier about reducing your stress, being ready early so that you can do a practice peak week, especially if it's your first time competing or your first time working with your coach. Give yourself enough wiggle room to do a practice peak week so that you know what you're going to look like on the day, if you can.
Yeah, so I think something that's become a lot more prevalent in recent years, it's just kind of come down the grapevine with more educational materials around contest prep coming out, is the mock peak, so to speak, or getting ready ahead of time. And what that allows you to do is if you're able to if you're able to diet down to the level of conditioning that you need to be to get on stage, say 2 to 3 weeks early, that then gives you a couple of weeks to not only allow the visual fatigue to come off the physique, so you can reduce output, so cardio, step count, things like that. You can maybe bring food up a tiny bit to allow for your body to recover from all the oxidative and metabolic stress that you've accumulated over the course of the prep. And then you can essentially find the perfect look at the perfect weight. You can record what needed to happen in terms of reducing output, food intake, water, sodium, electrolytes, potassium, whatever it is you need to manipulate in order to bring about that look. And then you can replicate that into the show, and the show day is a breeze. You don't have to freak out like, oh my God, okay, so throw this in at the last minute, use this diuretic, use this, use this
do
oral.
not use diuretics.
You don't need to, it's
Jesus.
the
Can we stop doing that already?
the overuse of excuse me, the overuse of diuretics like still blows my mind. But if you have that planned out in advance because you've already tested it and wow, so I know, for instance, like, wow, Danni was ready 3 weeks early at 115.6 pounds. She looks, full, but not super hard because the bikini division doesn't want you to be super hard, but her glutes are full. She still has a tight midsection. This is the food, the water, and the output that we had in order to bring about that look. Copy, paste into peak week. Rinse and repeat. She gets up on stage and she looks the best she's ever looked, which is what happened at Nationals this year, right?
Yep.
We pretty much just ran the same peak that we had a couple of weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to mention too is like, don't change anything in peak week. Like, do not introduce anything new. I think that's another thing I see people doing is just all this different stuff. It's like, why are you changing? If you've been prepping for months and months and months and what you've been doing has been working, why would you introduce anything new during the last week? Or the other thing is, remove things that, unnecessarily. Yeah.
I think people have, or athletes have a real problem with being still going into peak week because the momentum leading into peak week has been so breakneck, it feels like.
Yes, it is exciting
pulling back and putting your feet up and doing less cardio, which is really hard for, some of our girls are like, what? I'm doing less, do you know what I mean? I'm doing less steps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And,
just trust the process.
This many days out, you're going to stop training because we don't want inflammation blurring your lines, and it's hard to get people there, but once they see it play out in real time, it's pretty awesome because they're like, oh, okay, now I understand why you told me to de-output. Yeah. Because now my physique has come to life because all the fatigue has dropped off, and I not only do I look great, but I feel great. I have energy. I'm not gassed out on stage while I'm posing. I'm not struggling to get a full night of sleep. I'm not irritable, I
remember when years ago when I look at people during their peak where they're all like, oh, peak week's so hard, I'm so miserable, and I'm like, why? It's just like any other week for me during prep. So
well, I think just to not necessarily challenge you on that, but just like, I guess, answer that is peak week is very individual. Like, some individuals are not able to I guess bank enough time going into peak week to have a chill.
Well, that's
peak
what I'm
week.
saying. It's because they're not ready enough. Like, if you are like doing 2 hours of cardio during your peak week and killing yourself, it just means you weren't ready early enough.
Correct, but the other aspect is not just like de-outputting, it's like allowing stress to reduce. Like, even in the pro leagues, some folks they just can't de-stress because they're so worried about their placing. So it really comes back to anchoring the emotional state of the athlete so that they're chill, and if you can set them up ahead, not just like physically, but like say mentally to them, this is probably how it's going to go, then a lot of that anxiety and like, oh, what's going to happen, it kind of is like, well, whatever happens, I'm just going to follow the plan, and then if there's things we need to change, we adjust it on the next peak, and there's less attachment to the outcome that way. But I see a lot of panicking at the shows, a lot of panicking on the part of the coaches and the athletes. So you see them running around with their resistance bands and their utility belt. Like, there's that one coach in the WNBF who walks around with utility belts. Like, and
chill out. It's not that serious.
Looks like he's in SWAT gear. It's what an interesting guy. What an interesting guy.
Anyway, all right. Well, I think that wraps up our episode. I think on the next one we can dive into I know we're going to talk about we recently just were, spent 3 weeks in Macedonia in the UK. So I think a really good topic is, how to navigate, because I get this question from my clients all the time. I'm going away for a week. What do I do about my food? Or what do I do about my training? And da, da, da. So I think that would be a good topic to dive into on the next episode.
Yeah, just being able to maintain while on vacation.
Yeah.
Have balance
and have a good
while on
time at the
vacation,
same,
have a
and
good
still
time,
enjoy. Yeah.
Which is what we did.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Yep.
I kind of just let loose at the end after the engagement. I was like, screw it. I'm going to eat what I want.
Yeah,
But
we did. Well, we did the whole time. I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice. I mean, but we can go into that in the next episode. So
yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to go over at all?
No, that was all.
That's all?
That's it.
I feel like she wants to get out of here and eat. She's hungry.
I am hungry, but that's not why. Okay,
sure?
we gotta go.
All right, guys. Well,
thanks
thanks for tuning into episode 2
of the Iron Hearts podcast.
Yes, the Iron Hearts podcast. Sorry, my bad.
Don't forget to say that.
Yeah, I gotta keep on remembering that.
Yes.
But yeah, if you guys have anything you want us to go over, topics, questions you want us to answer, from everything to everything bodybuilding to life in general, drop it in the comments. Send us a DM. We're gonna try and film on average every couple of weeks and get a couple of podcasts out each month. And see how it goes from there. But
yep.
Yeah, that's about it, guys. So
we need to figure out a sign off.
Sign off? What was that?
I don't know. All right, we're good.
I have no... She just headbutted the microphone.
That's like the Wiggles.
I want no association with this whatsoever.
All right, I'm out. Bye.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.